Think of a sport that you love. Now think about turning that sport into a career path. And don't worry about your skill level, because I don't mean in the professional leagues. I'm talking about as a content creator, producing entertaining content around the sport, growing a massive community, partnering with the biggest brands in the sport, and making it to the big stages. That's what our guest Hannah O'Flynn has done. It all started with one crazy dunk, so crazy that it went viral. And from that moment, she's put in the work over the years to turn one moment into her own lane as a basketball talent and content creator. If Hannah's work with brands like Nike, Foot Locker, and Dick's Sporting Goods doesn't move you, or how she's using her platform to inspire women's basketball players around the world, her work ethic will. And in this episode, you will learn how to chart a path as a basketball creator, how to develop a brand partnership plan, and why you should know the difference between influencers and creators. Welcome back to New Game Labs, where we help creators in sports level up in business. It's your host, Kirby Porter. I would love to hear your thoughts as you're listening. You can leave us a comment here on YouTube. Now let's talk with our guest.
My friend Chuck Lawn, who's known, he's like the NBA dunk coach. He's actually coached, I think, 3 of the 4 most recent winners of the NBA dunk contest. He's like the dunk guru. Like everyone who's in that world knows Chuck. He messaged me and he responded to the story and he's just like, send that to me. And I was like, ha 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 ha. And he was like, no, send it to me. So, and he's like, and I suggest you post it too. And I was like, I honestly didn't think it was that impressive. I'd been jumping on trampolines my whole life and we were just messing around. But next thing you know, I just was like, okay, I posted it. I sent it to him. It's up on Team Flight Brothers. It goes up on House of Highlights. It's like blowing up everywhere to just a proportion that I didn't know was possible at the time. I think when your account is like slowly growing, it's one thing, but when it's just like all at once, it's kind of overwhelming. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh. So yeah, I was not expecting it at all. It was just because I failed at a backflip and I don't know, I took my inner knowledge of Vince Carter and applied it to the dunk. So that's how it kind of launched my presence on Instagram beyond work. So
What was your following before the dunk, if you remember?
I don't think I had, I think I probably had like 1K. Just like, which, you know, is like,
that is crazy.
I know. I think overnight or over a couple days, I got 15,000 followers. And then, you know, you spend so much of your early career and maybe even earlier than that being like, oh, you know, if I did this video, that'd be kind of cool. And you write it down and then you never do it. Mm-hmm. And I finally had an audience and people that were following me. And so it gave me that extra push that I hadn't had before, where I was like, I don't know, I think I'm naturally an entertainer. So I'm like, we need to put stuff out. We got to keep these people, you know, involved. Like, and, you know, I've produced and directed for my career. But even when I was younger, we did these videos called Smoochy Poo. And I didn't even realize at the time, but we would like go around and shoot little episodes. And I was in like elementary school and my best friends and I would go and I'd direct then. So it's just like, I naturally really liked it. And I loved making videos and it was just like a really fun way to express myself creatively and also just have fun and meet people. And it's insane how much has grown and how, you know, it's like affected my career. And so, yeah, it's wild. It all started with the dunk. And
this is your sign. If you're watching, go dunk right now.
Go to Sky Zone.
Go to Sky Zone, learn how to dunk, and then post it on Instagram, and you'll be good.
You said.
I love that. I love that. I was gonna ask you, like, how do you think about your mindset at the time? Were you excited? It sounds like you were. Like, it sounds like you just needed the go ahead basically to express yourself.
I was definitely overwhelmed as well. I was really excited because I was like, this isn't happening. And then the part that really kind of pushed me over the edge was legitimately 2 days later, my coworker who, these worlds are colliding. It's crazy how much your worlds collide. Was filming Victor Oladipo in the studio about to record something, and he was watching my dunk on his phone, and he was like, "That's my coworker," and he's like, middle of shooting like a doc, and he's like, "Do you mind? Can I record you watching, and you can just say something to her?" He's like, "Sure." So I posted that, the next day, and I was like, Victor Oladipo, like, gave me props. It was crazy. And I'm a musician too. I play saxophone. So anyone, like, same with Dame Dalla, Lillard, like anyone who's a hooper but they're also a musician, I feel like a, special connection to. So I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I love who he was as a player and a person, but also his musicianship and the fact that he was just like watching the video and shouting me out. It was just so ridiculous. So when that happened, I was like, this is nuts. Like, the power of the internet is immeasurable. So yeah.
Absolutely. In preparation for this interview, I scrolled all the way to the beginning of your Instagram and I saw the dunk. I saw the dunk, but then I also saw the Victor Oladipo video. I was like, oh wow, like this really went crazy for her.
Yeah, the virality of it all. I feel like it's becoming more normal to be viral now with TikTok. And I don't know, I just think generally the algorithm on Instagram, it's like either your video kind of does decently, flops, or just takes off. So it's really interesting. I think that's in earlier days when it wasn't totally as normal to go just viral like that. So it was definitely a wake-up call to all of those things for me.
Definitely. And I think it's interesting because, like you said before, going viral is a bit more common now. I think in the last 2 years, especially, there's been like a lot of case studies and just success stories of people that started with like nothing on TikTok and overnight 100K. And then they're doing these partnerships and these deals and they become figures. And it was definitely not as common back then. I feel like creators today are learning how to manage virality and learning how to capitalize on the moment. But how did you learn how to not just have it be the viral moment?
Yeah, I feel like early on, I was just kind of creating videos that I really enjoyed. I didn't really get anyone hitting me up after that happened, trying to work with me. I'd say only after about a year and a half, 2 years of really putting time into kind of creating my brand and niche and figuring out what my content was, did I start getting hit up by the Foot Lockers and the Wilsons and the Nikes, and really start, getting opportunities where you fiscally could benefit. But before that, it was really, most of it was just me doing things that I thought were cool and just having fun and, collaborating and meeting people who are like-minded, whether they were like basketball creatives or just filmmakers that I really liked their work. So it wasn't an immediate switch, but it was, my video was in a place where it was like it represented kind of the direction or an audience that I eventually would want to work with. So it worked. I think a lot of times if you go viral for things that don't fully represent what you are or where you're trying to go, it's tough because I think it's good because you could get an audience, but you just make it work and eventually switch it over to what you would actually want to create. So it was ideal because I feel like whoever was into that dunk was also into basketball and was also, supportive of women in athletics. So from there, I was like, okay, let me see what else I can do. And I was kind of just going with the flow. But honestly, none of the brand deals or anyone reaching out and becoming part of events and it being a little bit bigger happened until a couple years of work, if not more, of just like consistent putting things out that I was like very proud of from a production standpoint, from a that was really cool athletic standpoint. So it wasn't immediate, and I think a lot of people who are in this space who are really trying to, I get DMs all the time, hey, like, I want to get brand deals with Nike. I want to get brand deals, like, you know, all these people trying to work with Wilson or everything. And I'm just like, it's, you create whatever it is and they'll come to you, and you can use your connects, and eventually when the time is right, it's going to align. But it's not something that you can just, not have work to. You have to have a portfolio, you have to have a presence, and something to back up everything that you want to do. That's how I feel with work as well. It's like your opportunity eventually probably will come if you keep trying to work at what you're doing, and that takes priority over everything. So
no, I love it. And I love the reference that you made of portfolio, because you literally put 2 years of like commitment and consistency into building your portfolio, so that, by time brands are coming to you, or you're going to brands, which we'll talk about, it's like you have a case study of like, here's what I can do. Here are the numbers behind it. Here are the different styles I can do. And I think that's really important for people to hear, especially that are new to it, that it's not always going to be immediate. Even if you go viral, it's not going to be immediate.
It's not. And there's a lot of strategy that goes into it and experiences that you've learned from. So I remember being like, when I first started getting my brand deals, I was like, who else do I want to work with? So then you start a Word doc, you make a list of every brand you can think of that you would want to be partnership with, that you like what they vision, your vision aligns, and you're just like, that would be so dope if we got to do something together. And then, you think about different strategies for how you get there, who at different companies. The world is all about connects. So that's huge. That's a huge piece as well. But yeah, it was good because even though it was 2 years of me posting on my own platform, I had my entire career of experience as a producer, as an editor, as a director up until that point. Even in college, I majored in film and media and minored in studio art. So I was very knowledgeable in, Premiere, Final Cut, the whole Adobe suite, can, Photoshop whatever, can edit whatever. So I was in a place where I was able to, have all these experiences. And so when the time comes to edit my own content, I was like ready.
Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Facts.
Facts. What opportunity did you see that kept you going? Like, did you have a big picture in mind that like drove you over those 2 years? Because 2 years is a long time to like relatively to do things out of passion and not monetize it. What was like that bigger picture or opportunity that kept you going?
The biggest thing, honestly, was just getting a small following that I was excited about. And I had always had all of these ideas that I wanted to shoot, and I never thought I was ready. I was like, oh, I don't have the right equipment. I need to wait till I have a team or people to help me. The biggest thing that I've learned the past few years is, honestly, it can be a pretty lonely pursuit of going for your goals. And no one's going to want your goals. No one's going to want your dreams as much as you. So at the end of the day, you're going to have people who support you. But you have to push yourself and sort of go out of your way to do it, and just go film it, even if you don't feel ready, even if you're like, oh, like you can use an iPhone. Well, the iPhones are so nice now. You can just go shoot with anything, give yourself deadlines, make it happen. And there's something, it's funny. I feel like sometimes I procrastinate on my priorities of things. So I'll be like, oh, I really want to shoot this video. I'm like, but now all of a sudden I'm cleaning my room because I want to avoid the thing that I really know I need to get done, because I'm almost like, it's the number one thing. And so I think it is really about self-discipline and doing it afraid, and just doing and not thinking, because that's when it really is tough. I'm an overthinker, so you have to just like push through that. But yeah, I feel like what I meant to say from all of that is, I think it's something that I always really wanted to do. And I finally had that platform where I was like, it's time, I'm like, we're doing, like, we have to do it now. So that was the first step. And then I'm going to look on my Instagram to see if there was like a standout moment where I've definitely had a few moments where I was like, I'm in the place that I want to be, where I feel really good. Most recently it's been at events where it's like younger female basketball players are there and girls are just playing, and you know I was a huge tomboy and just like super into sports growing up, and I know I had role models of women that I looked up to, whether it was just like the girls that played sports in my high school that I thought were just like the coolest ever, or on a grander scale like the Mia Hams or the Williams sisters. And I think realizing that you might be that person for somebody, even if it's just like a small interaction, that's when I get like butterflies about that. I'm like, oh, like that's what I care about so much. So if I'm empowering girls to feel strong and confident and just feel cool, and we're friends, like it's just,
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, okay, I'm in a really great place. But let's see, I will wait.
That makes me happy hearing this. As you're looking, I think it might help you find some ideas for this question too, which fits into it. Because I want people to look with you. Like if you're watching,
Yeah,
listening, go
I
look at
got
her
my gram.
Instagram, look at the types, check it out, look at the type of content that she's making. A lot of it is like skit, skills, lifestyle. Like you really cover the whole gamut of like different types of basketball creator content strategies.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love for you to talk about what is this lane that you're in as a basketball
Mm-hmm.
creator? Like, what does that look like? What are the opportunities that you have? What do you do with
Yeah,
brands? What do you do on behalf of your own brand? For all the people that DM you, what would you tell them that you do?
as far as just my platform, I feel like it's really good to put things into pillars. So one would be like empower women through sports, empower young girls through sports. There's another one that would um, be unique and creative with your content. I feel like anything I put out, I feel very strongly about it popping off, or it's just like cool and unique and people haven't seen it before. So whether that's like, it just depends whether it's a trick shot or it's a hyperlapse where you take thousands of photos but you connect it together to look like a video. I think I have a unique perspective in that I've edited and directed video content in addition to being a basketball player, and just like, basketball's for fun for me. I'm not going pro or anything, but it's just able to celebrate basketball but in a very creative way. And so I think a lot of my videos are, or photos are, there's like personality in there. You get to know me, but you also get to share the love of basketball, and as a filmmaker or creative you get to be inspired. So I spend a lot of time saving down content that I think is cool, and then I'm like, okay, how can I put my twist on this, or how can I do something that I will make people think kind of outside the box. And so I feel like those are the different directions my content usually goes. Whether it's like throwing animations on top of basketball moves, or just spinning a ball on a girl's finger, it kind of all falls into my page. So
I love it. I love it. I hope it's giving some people some ideas. And then how do you combine the style, the creativity now with like the monetary opportunities that you have from the portfolio that you've built? How do you think
mm-hmm.
about monetizing? How do you think about partnering with
Huge.
brands?
Yeah, I'm in a place where I only say yes to things that I'm really excited about, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm because I have my job with ESPN and my platform, I'm able to sort of just zero in on things that I really want to do. Um, Honestly, almost everything I've ever posted with a brand has been something that, even if the brand wasn't involved, it would be something that I would want to post and I felt strongly about. So oftentimes I just take whatever the brand is that they send me, whether it's like, this basketball, Ari's basketball, or it's a pair of these shoes, it's like, how can we incorporate that into whatever video that I'd want to create? So I think whatever is true to your brand or true to what you want to do, it's much easier to create things that make sense for that. And the most recent deal I did, which I'm actually probably going to post the second half of it in the next couple days, was I was sent multiple pairs of women's basketball shoes. So we had Moolah Kicks, we had Candace Parker's and Brianna Stewart's shoes. We had the Breakthrough flows with Under Armour, where it's like specifically they're all women's shoes and designed either under the name of a female basketball player or for the woman's foot. So I'm like, that is so niche and that is so me, because it's, like celebrating women in sports, but also it's basketball, but also it's like cool kicks. And so coming up with different ideas for that, thinking of, how you can get the message across of why you're repping these shoes, but also making them look cool at the same time. Honestly, a lot of content that I create is just from sitting down and like throwing ideas that are crazy out and then picking one or two. And oftentimes it's because I've saved down content that I've seen that I'm like, that's really cool, I want to do something with that, and trying to think of what the overall message is, but in addition, do something kind of unique or eye-catching or shareable. I feel like now the value of saving down content or someone sending content is much stronger than just a like. So if you can think of something where you add value to someone's experience, whether it's like a go-to handles workout you do, or it's like this really cool edit that, the beat drops and something happens and they're like, oh, I want to try that, So I think finding things that you believe in, but also are like intriguing to your audience in a way is really important. So it's honestly so fun to come up with how to make different brands align with yours and represent that.
I love everything you're saying because I think it's really capturing the difference between like influencers and creators. So I would say an influencer, if they were sent everything that you've gotten, the basketball, the shoes, the roster of women's basketball shoes, that execution would look like them posting a picture with the shoes, tagging the brand, saying ad, and go check it out. Where like creators are like their own production companies, basically, where they have this creative twist and insight and storytelling and just like all these fun ideas that make the collaboration that much stronger. And so I think it's really interesting for someone listening to this, especially if you're an athlete, like think more about how you can be a creator in your collaborations versus like go buy this stuff, because that's really what brands are valuing now too. And you just gave a masterclass on marketing.
There's so much.
They need to Venmo you.
There's little things you learn about too.
There's
like
so much.
Even working at ESPN, I've learned little tricks that I didn't know about before, and you have to adapt as things are happening. So obviously, like reels are doing really well. You want to make sure you choose a trending song, so it's just like ups it, and you want whatever it is that is going to be like the big moment to be within the first second of your video, or something about the first second has to be very intriguing so people stick around. But it all really depends. Like I think a lot of athletes, for example, like a Paige Beckers or Haley Van Lith, you can really just take a photo with that product and people are like, I love that.
Yes,
they're dope. So like they could also do a sick video.
They have that brand.
But I think it depends on, where you are. And I love that a bunch of athletes in college right now are able to have opportunities like this in the NIL deals, and it's baffling that they didn't have that before and couldn't use their likeness to actually gain value. But it's like a really big time for athletes to capitalize on their likeness and really think about how to advertise yourself in a more creative and deeper way. So yeah, what you're doing is honestly so perfect. I think a lot of people are going to find this helpful.
Thank you. I hope they do. And also, I would say, like, what they can learn from you is, especially if you're still playing a sport, is how can you build your brand around your sport? Because I would think, like, imagine if you were doing what you were doing while you were in the WNBA or in, college basketball. Not that you played in the WNBA, but like, imagine if you can, like, a little bit. Imagine if you could, like, carry some of these like tactics and strategies to really just like elevate everything that you're doing currently as like a women's college athlete in any sport. It doesn't have to be basketball. I think it's like a framework of content creation, of aligning to a sport but having a unique angle as a creator.
100%.
So I hope they are gaining value from everything that you're sharing.
And it's
no, girl, go ahead.
Hey, it's in a place now where I honestly think 5 years ago people were not taking social media seriously. They were like kind of laughing a little bit about it. And now it's like everyone's trying to get involved. All these companies are getting TikToks and like, how do I, grow? And it's TV used to be the big thing, and now people just check Instagram or social media or Twitter and see what the updates are. And there's obviously always going to be value in watching things live, but I do think like with streaming services and social media and all this new media, there's a lot more current respect for social media that wasn't there before. So it's a place where people will take you seriously, and they didn't always. So it's a cool place to be for sure.
Yeah. I mean, just even 5 years ago now was like right before you had your video. Like 2017, 18, like it's not that long ago. And so I think it's also important for people like us that just like grew up in it to also zoom out and think about how early the industry is holistically and what that says about how much opportunity that there is if you really invest in it.
I can only imagine what apps are going to drop in the next 10 years. It's kind of crazy to think about. TikTok only came out 2 years ago. It's like now people's entire careers, and like it's nuts. So yeah, there's so much potential.
How do you think about platforms like for your brand? You have over 30K on Instagram. I know you're on TikTok. Like, how have you evolved as you've like really started to grow as a creator?
I know I need to prioritize TikTok more. I think that's for sure, no question, the greatest room for growth as far as like developing an audience. I remember my friend Krissa, she's Krissa Ace on Instagram. She was a former Harlem Globetrotter, 13th female Harlem Globetrotter. And I remember us doing a Christmas video together. She was like, Hannah, just post on TikTok. Just post whatever, be consistent. And I was like, I know I should. And then you don't. And she did. She, I think at the time had like 100K. It was like early days. And now, actually, I should check. I haven't checked her platform lately, but the last time I checked, she had 14 million followers on TikTok.
14 million?
So it's million. So it just goes to show you, like, as far even at work too, like our growth has skyrocketed on TikTok. So as far as just like people following you and also going from your TikTok to your Instagram and potentially following you there as well, and like linking yourself in other places, that has the greatest room for growth. As far as brand deals, I think luckily for me, Instagram is still a very great place to be. I think random viral TikTok videos are sweet, but unless you have like a consistent niche, it's harder to get opportunities on there, and it's not seen as like a crazy thing as much. It's still crazy, but when your video goes viral, I remember I got 500K views on a video I posted on TikTok. And I was like, this is cool. But I wasn't like, oh my God, So I
Right.
think it's like, it's different. So I think a lot of opportunities are coming through Instagram, and there's a lot of opportunities to like plug yourself as far as like in the stories. You can go to a link of a brand, or you can tag them, and it's very easy to find different pages. I think Facebook is a place where my parents can hang out and support each other. I think there's maybe a little bit of opportunity there, but I haven't explored that as much. I feel like shouldn't be necessarily a place where you target, but it can definitely be where you repurpose your content. Another room for growth is definitely YouTube. I feel like a few years ago, YouTube was a really great place to be for directly like getting a certain amount of views and then making money from that. I think it's still for sure an option now. I don't know as much about it, but a lot of my friends, my friend who actually does the social media for or helps the professor with a lot of his work, told me, like, whatever you do, go to YouTube, go to TikTok, like repurpose everything. So he was like really pushing doing YouTube shorts for me because it's like vertical video, and it can still be short, and it's what you would post on Instagram anyway, but just put it also on YouTube. So it's like, I think the importance of repurposing on other platforms is high, and it's kind of annoying, but making it a habit when you do post to not just put it on one platform. If it's good, put it everywhere. And also maybe even learn about how it does in one place and see how it does in the other and see the differences. There's a lot of trends that do really well on some and not others. A consistent one through most is like, if there's for example, at ESPN, if there's like I was saying earlier, the Jocelyn Alo story, she had the most home runs ever, and it just so happened to be back where she grew up in Hawaii when she played against the University of Hawaii that she got the record. You could show that story in a carousel, or you can go and get video content, do a green screen talking about it, have, as you're speaking, this is really important, have captions that go along with what you're saying, because I think it was like 80 or 70% of people don't watch with audio at first, and they can click in if they want. But that way, it's just something that's like a little bit more eye-catching. Even highlights that I post, I just, right before talking to you, posted a video of this girl throwing a perfect spiral to someone in the end zone. There's like a flag football league that I'm really excited about that I just discovered. And instead of just posting the video, I wrote throwing dimes as copy right before she throws it. So like immediately you can expect something, and you're waiting for something on the physical video, and then you can read the caption as well. So there's like little tactics that you learn over time that do really well. And it's honestly always changing. So you kind of have to like stick with it if you're invested enough in it. But yeah, there's also people who just post whatever and it always does well because they have great personalities, or they like, it's just, it really depends. But I think certain things are like, make sense, and
100%.
you have to pay attention to them.
So. 100%. I think the goal for a lot of creators is to get to the point where they're not so reliant on like, let me figure out the right time to post and the algorithm today and all these things, because they built such a credible brand that they just have a connection of people want to show up and support them no matter what, not just if it's hitting right that day.
100%.
So I think that's something a lot of creators can think about, like how can you be smart about what you're posting and be smart about the platforms to start, but aspire for bigger, aspire to be like bigger than just a YouTube Shorts creator or just a TikTok creator. Like you're you, and you use these platforms to grow. Like you're not just the platforms. I think that's like something more people are realizing now.
I talked about this with my friend Joseph Adamu. Look up his work on Sunday School. It's just called Sunday School on Instagram, and he's one of my favorite creative directors. Just like insanely talented, has a very clear vision, and you do have to transform your page a little bit, and also like consider consistency in your work, because it's like it's tough. He does a lot of very well done, deep, thoughtful content. And so it's like he can't put out things every single day like other people. Like it's got to be, um, you have to put time into the quality and thought process behind it. You have to, go shoot in all these locations and have the right aesthetic and editor. And um, overall, because he has such a strong following of people, they still show up for him. But it's like some people will post, every other day, and then others will post once every few weeks. But it is about finding that balance of what's like true to what you want to do and not feel too controlled, but then also like not dropping off the face of the planet. And it's tough. I find myself often being like, should I sacrifice quality for consistency? And I'm a very big perfectionist, so it's something that I think by now delegating work, that'll be really good for me. But I've kind of promised to myself that whatever I put out, I'm still going to be proud of. um, and if that means like sacrificing posting, like, and I'll post once every several days instead of once a day. um Ideally I get to a point where it's more consistent, but it's, you just have to figure out what matters most to you and what you prioritize. And it's honestly different for everyone, so everyone kind of goes through that struggle. And also remembering that if your stuff does flop and you still love it, that's awesome. Keep it. Like, that's, at least that's my personal perspective. I think for like larger brands, you're like, okay, we're going to archive this, we're going to try it at a later time, like maybe that's an option. um but for me, I'm like, man, I just put out this video. It's everything I care about. I think it's like, to me, it's great, and I'm proud of it. um Not feeling like, because the algorithm isn't working that day and only like 100 people saw it, that it's trash. Like, no, maybe it's just, it used to be so much easier to post things and like making sure everyone sees it, but right now, at least on Instagram, it's like, it's weird how things are performing. It's really weird. And even from a sit down study perspective, like, we get frustrated at work and when we're studying it at ESPN, and we're like, that should have popped off. I don't know what's going on. So to me, knowing that's happening on like a grander scale, it makes it a little bit mentally easier on my personal page to be like, okay, I know this isn't just me. And I'm going to put it out and I'm going to feel good about it. And if you're like that self-conscious about likes or whatever, then just put it to other, or not showing the likes. But to me, it's like, if you like it and it's cool and it's noteworthy, then that's all that matters, and that's your page. So it's easier said than done, obviously, but everybody wants to be liked. But it's,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think something I picked up from this is just the importance of detachment, in a sense, around not attaching your self-worth to the results of what you're posting, because they are not the same. And then
no.
another piece of it is like having a inner confidence or just point of view that you determine what enough is for you, because there's always going to be more to do. Like, we could both be on TikTok running it up right now if we wanted to, but sometimes maybe what we're doing is enough, and that's okay. And we're still finding success in our own way. So I think right now it's like, it's so easy to blindly follow advice or jump into what you should be doing if you want to be successful as a creator. But like, sometimes you have to learn how to think for yourself and be like, wait, what am I trying to do? And like, what does
What am I
success look like
becoming
for
when I'm
me?
not? Yeah.
Exactly,
I'm
exactly.
following what everyone's saying. So yeah, you gotta really listen to what you want and what you'd be proud of and what you're trying to put
Exactly.
out, because I think a lot of people get lost in that
Yep.
process.
Absolutely. I would love to wrap up with a piece of sound advice from you. around what you would say to someone that wants to be a basketball creator. What would you tell them?
Ooh, I'd say there's so many different types of creators. So there's just straight up trick shot creators. There's people who go out and play one on one and destroy people, like the professor. There's people who do, you know, relatable videos where you do kind of written out copy and like different basketball stereotypes would be an example, and so there's so many different lanes you can go in. I'd say mine's more of the like film creative lane, and sometimes some random fun basketball skills and trick shots and just like empowering young girls. Like that's kind of my lane, but I think you can kind of go wherever you want with it. So it's up to you to sort of just go for it and decide what that will become, and then just putting time into it, because it really does take time to figure out what your thing is. And honestly, just make sure you're doing it because you love it and enjoy it. I'm someone, it's sort of funny, my friend recently told me I should post more videos of me playing basketball and playing pickup, and I'm like, I just go play alone all the time. It's just therapeutic for me. It's something that when I'm playing, I don't think about anything else. You know, it's just like I'm fully there. And I think oftentimes what can I do here? Like I'm always pushing time. I'm always like, I'm always gonna take advantage of every hour I get. And I think that's one of the few times in my day where I just can just be like, like I'm at peace. I'm present. I just love what I'm doing. And that's how I've connected and befriended so many incredible people. So I think the very large community in the basketball world, it's a beautiful place to be. That's legitimately how we met. And it's like, it's crazy the places it can take you. So make it your own, be proud of what you're doing, and have a lot of fun.
I love it. Thank you for joining us, Hannah.
You're the best.